Hello students, we are meeting again for our next lecture. In the last lecture, we have stopped at this point, that is weak acid from sky, and we have learned that the pH of the rainwater is decreased to acidic side because of dissolution of carbon dioxide. Now next point is why natural water contains alkalinity and calcium. The water alkalinity is defined as the ability of water to react with and neutralize H plus ions. The water alkalinity originates as it contains bicarbonate ions which react in this way. Means the bicarbonate reacts with acid if at all comes from outside, and carbon dioxide is released. This is an important reaction as it neutralizes any dissolved any dissolved acid which may arise because of acid rain discussed in earlier reaction. This is weak acid from sky. One more important reaction that shows alkalinity of water is the reaction by which water acquires water hardness in the form of dissolved calcium. Okay, the water acquires alkalinity due to dissolved carbon dioxide in the water reacts with calcium carbonate material. Okay, so how it reacts, you can see here that carbon dioxide dissolved here convert to carbolic acid. Okay, that is and from in that carbolic acid HCO3 minus is there, and and this Ca, this is HCO3. Then in the rainfall, what happens? The water percolates through land mass, and this carbonate goes in the water. Okay, not carbonate, this carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide and water together form carbolic acid, and it reacts with this sediment, that is calcium carbonate, and forming calcium bicarbonate, and this calcium bicarbonate remains in dissolved form in this reservoir, and therefore natural water contains alkalinity is due to bicarbonate ion, that is HCO3, and then it contains calcium ions. That's why this is the reason for which the presence of calcium ions in the water, which makes water hard water. Okay, so we will move ahead. Metals in water. Metals in water are found as their ions attach to water molecules. Water helps in stabilizing the formed metal ion by process called hydration, in which water molecules bind the metal ions. As an example, there are 6 water molecules bound to calcium 2 plus ions, which is stabilized by hydration as calcium H2O 2 plus, calcium hexahydrate, calcium H2O 2 plus. So, like water, there are some other molecules which can bind at 2 or more sides to metal ion, thereby stabilizing them. These are called chelating agents. The as you know, in the biomass, there is oxygen, there is nitrogen, there is sulfur, okay, or halides. All these atoms containing lone pair of electron can act as a ligand. Okay, if they are present in more than one number, they are called as bidentate, tridentate ligand. So when there is a multidentate ligand binds the metal, it forms the ring kind of ligand. So that is called as a chelating agent. The reaction between metal ion and chelating agent is usually reversible. Chelation is an important phenomena, as in blood, hemoglobin is chelating agent which has Fe2 plus ions bonded simultaneously to 4 nitrogen atoms of on the hemoglobin protein molecule. The other two sited are occupied by oxygen molecule, and this is how hemoglobin carries oxygen to various organs and cells of the body. The chelating agent are also found in nature. The agents are found in nature. These are having complex structures and are residues of partial biodegradation of plant materials such as lignin. Just now I told you that mostly in biomass, okay, the degraded biomass or to be degraded biomass, it contains more proteins or carbohydrate, they contain nitrogen oxygen sulfur. These can act as a dents of the chelating agent. So one of the product is lignin from plant. uh, these chelating agents are of variable chemical composition. Okay, so due to various variable composition, and they are called as humic substances. These humic substances have strong ability to bind with the Fe2 plus ions, which are usually present as insoluble species in water. Okay, the humic substances form chelates with ion which are yellow in color. These chelates are termed as Gelbstoff. It is German meaning yellow stuff. Gelbstoff means yellow stuff. The humic substances are difficult to remove from water. Since chlorine is commonly used as disinfectant to purify water, the humic substances react with chlorine to form various carcinogens such as trihalomethanes, especially chloroform, or therefore, care has to be taken to remove humic substances from water before treatment with chlorine. So that is the role of metals in water. Now we'll move to the next topic: water interaction with other phases. Means up till now we have seen whatever water soluble ingredients. Now we'll see how water reacts with the substances which are water insoluble. In that, first is sediment. Means here, look at this figure. See, this is a water body, this is land mass, and when the water or for any reason when this land mass is degraded physically or chemically, the silt type of material is collected at the bottom, and that gets sedimented. That is called as sediments. Okay, so what happens here? The natural water comes in contact with other solid materials such as sediments and colloidal particles. Means when they settle down, some part remains in water, that forms the colloidal particle, and some which is get settled down is called as sediments. Sediments are those layers of organic inorganic material on which water in the reservoir reside or rest. Such water in reservoirs is continuously in contact with atmosphere and the sediments. As water exchanges gases with atmosphere, similarly, various materials are exchanged between water and sediment. Means when water exchanges, when it see when at the surface it is in contact with atmosphere, so it exchanges water. Similarly, look at this layer. Okay, here material exchanges with sediment. Means water when react with sediment, there is some exchange of material. Now what kind of material, how it affects, that we'll see here. Various inorganic pollutants like heavy metals and organic pollutants like dense liquids get deposited on the sediment layer. The organisms which live closer to the sediment are more susceptible toward accumulation of high levels of these pollutants. The same pollutants are passed on to fish and birds as they eat fish. In this way, accumulation of organic and inorganic pollutants on sediment may have unwanted impact on biology around the reservoir. Means you can see here the unwanted pollutants are here. They get exchanged with water, and these are eaten up by fishes, and these fishes are eaten up by birds. So there is a bioaccumulation of this pollutant when it reacts with sediment. So this is a kind of interaction of water with the sediment. Then next is solid insoluble organic compounds. A water reservoir is considered as a healthy ecosystem if an exchange of essential gases, especially oxygen, is taking place. This exchange is particularly important as the fish survive by inhaling the dissolved oxygen. This healthy exchange of oxygen gas is disturbed if a thin film of water insoluble organic material is spread on the water surface. Such organic compounds may also undergo various photochemical reaction that may affect the chemistry of water reservoir. Means here what happens, and until the moment there is a exchange of oxygen, and then it becomes a healthy exchange of this oxygen disturbed by thin film of water insoluble organic material is spread on the water surface. Means sometimes oil spills, you must have heard, when the oil carrying ships, they burst sometimes in sea, the oil gets sprayed over the surface of water, and that forms the organic layer over the water and that causes the harm to the aquatic animals. So that is a kind of solid insoluble organic compound interaction with water. Then we'll see colloidal particles. Means here we have seen what happens to the sediments, we have seen what happens at the surface, but there are some amount of particles which get dispersed in the water medium. They are called as colloidal particle. Colloidal particles are very small particulate matter having particle size in few micrometer, that is 10 raised to minus 6 meter. Because of their small size, they do not settle at the bottom of the reservoir and stay suspended in water. Due to small size of colloidal particles, they have huge surface area and ratio of surface area to the body mass of the particle is quite large, which makes them quite reactive. Means here surface to mass ratio is very high, therefore they becomes more active surface area, so they becomes more reactive. There are three types of colloidal particles based upon their behavior with water. What are these three types? First is hydrophobic colloidal particle. Hydrophobic means here these particles, their surface area is active but it is not polar, so they are hydrophobic, they do not mix interact with water, they don't have any kind of association with water molecules. So these are water repelling colloids as they are enough non-polar. As they have same charge, they remain suspended in water as colloidal particle and repel each other. Okay. Then next is hydrophilic colloidal particle. Obviously exactly opposite, means their polar surface must be, surface area must be polar, and they can have association with water molecule. Some proteins and microbial cells which are enough polar and can form hydrogen bonds with water, and hence they are attracted towards water molecules. They remain suspended in water because of their ability to bind water molecules. Okay, so this is hydrophilic colloidal particle. Then association colloids. Now what is this association colloid? We'll see. These are also called as aggregates of molecules or ions. Such aggregates are formed because certain particles, okay, come closer. This particle number may be in hundreds or thousands. They come closer to each other and get bound with each other in the form of a colony of particles. Okay, ठीक है, and such aggregates or colonies of molecules are called as micelles. These micelles, if you remember, as I told you, take an example of soap molecule. In soap, what is that? Long chain fatty acid. Means COH group is polar, but the R group of the acid is very long chain, so that forms the non-polar part. So when they get dissolved in water, what happens? They if the impurity is impurity is polar, the polar part, the COH part surrounded by the impurity, and they carry out the that impurity from water. If the impurity is non-polar, then R group surrounds that impurity. So this collection of so many molecules around that one molecule is called micelle, and that is the one kind of association colloids. Means here due to some phase transfer kind of nature of the some substances, they get associated with each other in hundreds or thousand number, and that is called as association colloids. Soaps have structure, the structure you can see here. Just now example, this is the biggest R group, so that forms non-polar, and this is a polar part. So here if it is a polar molecule, for example water is there, so water will approach here. If it is some non-polar, then it will approach here. So these molecules surround that molecule depending on the nature. Okay, and that is called as formation of micelles, and this is called as association colloid. So soap have structure in which one end of long chain hydrocarbon termed as hydrophobic tail, the same thing which I explained. So what happens here, these form the micelle, that is called as association colloids. Okay, and the last point is bathtub ring. This is the last type of interaction with other phases. The hardness of water arises due to presence of some insoluble salt, most commonly calcium salts of fatty acid and inorganic acids. As an example, calcium ion reacts with sodium stearate. Okay, stearic is a salt of stearic acid found in soap to form calcium stearate. Okay, means just consider the same example. Instead of this sodium, there is calcium. So what will happen, one side this molecule, other side also same molecule, and at the center there is a calcium ion. Okay, so what happens, on both side there is a non-polar kind of molecule, so they get isolated from water easily. Okay, there is no, the polar part remains at the center only, and which is surrounded by these big R groups. Okay, so therefore calcium stearate is not good cleaning substance, but rather it precipitates out in the form of white solid which deposit on bathtubs in the form of ring. Okay, so some sugarless candies contain calcium stearate as main ingredient along with artificial sweeteners, food colors and flavors. The reaction that forms calcium stearate may be represented like this. Means look at this, on one side, see this molecule you have taken twice. Why? Because the valency of calcium is 2. So on one side only one sodium is replaced by calcium, but calcium has valency 2, so it will react with these two long chain fatty acids. So that's why I look at here, this is 2 are big groups. Okay, they are connected to one. So on one side this bigger, other side also bigger, so that becomes a totally non-polar, and therefore it precipitate out and it get deposited on the container. Here we are taking example of bathtub, so that forms the deposits. Means here I will give you example. If salty water or hard water is coming continuously running through a tap, the tap get jam, means you cannot rotate because of deposition. This is called, that is called as bathtub rings. So this is a kind of area interaction of water with the different kind of other phases. Okay, so this completes our chapter, that is water as universal green ultimate green solvent. Okay, so this is a very easy chapter. If you have any doubt and difficulty, you can ask me on Google Classroom. For time being I will stop here. Thank you.